What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Taking the Pin. And of course, if you've been living under a rock, then you may not well know that the biggest event of the year has just passed us by in what feels like a millisecond, to be perfectly honest. WrestleMania 41 has happened over the weekend, and as always with a WrestleMania or any WWE PLE, there is a lot to discuss. So today we're going to be giving our thoughts on Mania as a whole, and maybe going into one or two of the matches a little bit as well, and just giving a general breakdown of how we felt about the card and the matches overall. So, Bragster, how are you doing today on this post WrestleMania weekend Tuesday?
All good. My sleeping schedule is completely screwed. I have not gone to bed before 4:30 for 5 nights now. So my body is dying.
Well, to be fair, Bragster, you do look quite fresh for a almost dead man. So
Thank you.
you know it's not too bad in the grand scheme of things. So with that being said, of course, lots of matches to have watched over the weekend. I guess we'll start with night one and go through our general thoughts of the night as a whole. Of course, lots of things happened during that night. You, of course, had the changing of the championship between Gunther and Jey Uso. You had Tiffy and Charlotte with the second to last match, and of course, the triple threat match between Seth, Roman, and Punk. And of course, you had Fatu getting his first title on the roster, and then you had El Grande Americano getting his first win at Mania.
It was good.
It kind of was, but I didn't enjoy it because of Americano. I enjoyed it because of Rey Fenix stepping in for, of course, the injured Rey Mysterio. So yeah, in terms of the overall night as a whole, Baxter, like, what was your overall thought on it, and do you have a score in mind?
Night one is I've got a score for both nights. Individual nights less so. Weirdly, I don't know why, but my brain just can't seem to process them separately as much.
That's fair.
Night one, I felt like it was what I would have expected. I came out of it feeling it the exact way I would have expected, which is it was a all right show. It was a good show. Like it was a good show. Like there was like not no real bad matches really. There was ones that I obviously preferred than others, but there was no bad matches. There was no was like, oh, that was bad. Because obviously these are the best wrestlers in the world, so that's just not going to happen on Mania. But I felt like it was a good show with an unbelievable ending to the like one of the best triple threat matches I've ever seen. With like one of the best closing shots of a show and a WrestleMania that I've ever seen. The shot of Seth with the chair and Heyman so perfectly placed behind him is one of the best shots I have seen. And no matter how many people say, "Oh, I predicted that that Paul Heyman was going to go with Seth," no one expected it to happen the way it did. Like it was so well done, and makes so much sense, and done so well to the point where I was just watching that match in awe. I said last week that was going to be the match that I was on the edge of my seat most for because I truly didn't know who was going to win. To the point where every near fall I would be on the edge of my seat. Damn right, I was on the edge of my seat for every single near fall. To the point where I jumped up on multiple occasions, and it says a lot when it got to the end. And there was a little bit inside where I was like, "Is he still going to kick out?" Like, and there was that little element of that could still happen, which is a sign of a very, very good match. So yeah, I felt like it was a good show with a great ending. I felt like the start was great with Jey and Gunther. I enjoyed the match. I think that the story that they told was so actually quite clever, and was very much, I felt like WWE and Jey Uso going, "Oh, can I only do 5 moves? All right, I'll do most of Gunther's moveset then." And it was like it was almost like a big middle finger to a lot of the internet wrestling community, who basically say that he can't wrestle. And whereas I've always thought he's just become like a John Cena, where he's so over, you don't have to do the special things. You can save the special things or the nuances. I thought that it was just a very good match. I thought, I really enjoyed it. I thought a lot of I mean, I know I'm repeating myself at this point, so I'm going to shut up. But it was just overall a good show. What about you?
I think for me, the card got better as time went on. I think I didn't know what really to expect out of the Jay and Gunther match, because as much as I love both performers, I wasn't sure how the match was going to be. I know after Saturday night's main event in January, I think everyone expected a really good match. And watching it back, because I didn't watch it live, I watched it on like the Sunday morning, because I was away for the weekend. But I watched it. Something just didn't click with me. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's one of those things that if I watch it again at a different time, I'll probably be like, oh, that was a lot better than I remembered it. It just seemed like the energy in the match wasn't there. And I don't know if it was just me seeing that or if it was just my general feeling on it. I think for me, the one thing I probably would have done is I would have swapped that match with the LA Knight Jacob Fatu match and put that on first, and then have the New Day, and then probably put that match on there and sort of build to it as like sort of a peak for that sort of early start to the show. Again, people will disagree with me, and that's fair. Each wrestling fan has their own opinion, and I'm happy to hear it. But something just didn't feel right. I was happy that Jay won. I was happy that he wrestled a decent match. Like, it wasn't like he didn't slip up or make any mistakes, or like you say, it was a middle finger to those fans out there that have said that he's not worthy of being in this position, because I fully think he is. And I'm glad that he's got a bit more of that serious tone back now, rather than it just being a total cartoon character. Obviously, you've got to have both elements, I think, for it to work properly. Because if you go too serious with Jay, I don't think it quite works all the time. But that being said, I felt like the tag match wasn't that great. Again, there were decent spots in it, but I think I kind of got put off by the War Raiders coming out in Clash of Clan uniform when we've seen their gear before look sick as all hell, and they look so cool when they're in that gear, especially in like the big PLEs. And of course, seeing what they did in the Indies and then what they did in NXT, that they can put a brilliant tag match together, and we all know what New Day can do. It's not like it's a big surprise for them. It just didn't. Those first couple of matches kind of had me concerned, but then from there it kind of built, and I think like as we got through each match, it got better and better. And again, there were fun spots in there, like the not Rainbow Mysterio, Rey Fenix and El Grande Americano was a nice, fun match. It wasn't necessarily, I mean, El Grande Americano can't be a serious character, I think, in this early iteration of it. No. We'll see if that changes as time goes on. But I think the spots and the moves and Rey Fenix getting this early WrestleMania debut that was totally unexpected looked great, and made Grande Americano look great as well. And then I think actually my sort of, not necessarily surprise, but I think the match that I liked more than I maybe expected was the Tiffy Charlotte match, because of the scrappiness of it. I liked the fact that, like, there's been this build up of them to the match that they really don't like each other. Like, they've thrown these really barbed wired shots at each other during the promos, and there's been all the talk backstage. Now, of course, it may well be WWE feeding the internet rumor machine and all this, that, and the other. But I did like the fact that, yes, it wasn't necessary. They had their clean spots and they had their clean moves and everything like that. But I liked the fact there was more of it. There was that scrappy element to it. And then going into that main event, like you said before about the triple threat, I thought, chef's kiss. I didn't think this was ever going to disappoint. and it didn't. There was just no way with the people involved, with Heyman involved, it just was never going to disappoint.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe Heyman going with Seth was predictable to some people. It didn't really matter to me because of how they executed it. And there was that moment when he low blowed Punk. I thought, oh well, he's not going to do it again. Like, you know, it'd be one thing if he did it to Roman and then just Seth won, but to do it to Punk and then Roman, I was more surprised by that. So again, I think that just added to it. And again, like you say, the shots at the end of, it's a shame we didn't get that shot at the front of the ring where he's got his hand out for the chair. It's a shame we didn't quite get that one. But I think that ending shot of him, and then of course we've had the Monday Night Raw after, and we've seen what the outcome and what's going to come next. I think that's just adds to the match itself. And we're off to the races with that. So I mean, for me, I think night one built as the night went on, and it got better and better. But yeah, it was a good night. I wouldn't say it was a great night. But again, I can see why people maybe enjoyed aspects that I didn't. It's not like I'm sitting here and like crapping all over it and saying this was a terrible first night for Mania or anything like that. I know there was a lot of that the morning after, and I didn't quite see what people were seeing. But yeah, it was an enjoyable first night for me.
No, yeah, like it's quite funny because you just going through a lot of the matches there. Some of the matches you enjoyed, I didn't enjoy, and vice versa. Probably, unfortunately, my least favorite match on the card was the Tiffy Charlotte match.
Okay.
I just didn't. This harkens back to what we discussed last week. And you sort of touched upon it there. You like the scrappiness and you like that element. For me, it's just not. It's not what I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's just not my kind of wrestling. I get why some people would love it.
Yeah.
Just for me, not my thing. But then, unlike a lot of people on the internet, Jay Gunther was my thing. It is my thing. I love the psychological wrestling. I love that, and I love the, it was like Jay had done his homework and knew Gunther's repertoire, and then knew how to execute it himself, and hit Gunther with stuff he's never been hit with before because no one's ever hit the Gunther moves on Gunther. And it was just that stuff I love, that little psychology elements, and I get, and this is where it's like the scrappy fighty matches. You need those on the card.
Yeah, just
they're usually not my kind of matches. So naturally it was just like, but it wasn't bad. It's just not my thing. It's
just not
like,
your taste. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like with films. It's like I'm not a big fan of musicals. It doesn't mean that musicals are rubbish.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I think it just sums up the show a lot. That there was stuff for everyone on that show, and that there's a reason everyone came out of it going, "Oh, that was good." It was because you either there were some you liked and some that you wouldn't like.
Yeah,
and that was for everyone because they kind of sprinkled loads of things in for different kind of people.
Yeah, 100%. So, moving on from night one, then, of course, we had night two. Lots to talk about there, I'm sure. Of course, like again, I think overall night two, I think was the much, in terms of the card and in terms of the matches themselves as a whole, I think it was a much stronger, more back-to-back quality matches night, if that makes sense. I don't feel like, to me personally, there wasn't really many lulls. I think the maybe one lull I had a little bit was the women's tag team match. But again, we had the surprise of Randy and Joe Hendry, which again, I know everyone wanted maybe like Aleister Black or Rusev or something like that, but
I don't care. What we got was so much better.
It was
so much better.
That's what I was about to say, is that Joe came out and just he was brilliant. And it's mad because I was sitting watching, because I did watch that one live, and seeing him come out, and I've seen him live at WCPW when obviously What Culture had their own promotion, when he was very much in the early days, just after being Rusev's lawyer on Raw, and then like seeing him there, it was just it was a weird thing, but I love the fact of what he did, and Randy almost doing it as well, like being as involved in it, like doing the little pause at the end, and
so good.
It was a great moment, and a nice little
pop of the night, by the way.
Yeah,
like probably pop of the weekend.
Yeah,
like if you haven't listened to it back because you probably were screaming yourselves, listen back to the video of the reveal, and the crowd go absolutely insane. Like absolutely insane. Now, some people will probably say, "Oh, they buried TNA because like he lost in like 3 minutes." Number one, TNA World Champions just appeared on WrestleMania for the first time ever.
Yeah.
Number two, the TNA World Champions just got the biggest pop of the entire weekend.
Yeah.
Number three, the TNA World Champion is in a match alongside the 14-time WWE World Champion, Randy Orton, on his 20th WrestleMania. Number four, if you watch the match again, Joe Hendry doesn't take it completely seriously.
Yeah.
That's part of the point, is they didn't have Joe Hendry take it completely seriously. They had it almost telling the story that, he's taking in the moment. He's taking in the fact that he's at WrestleMania. And not fully going, "Oh, I'm going to beat Randy," and more taking in the moment. Like that protects him, because it's, he was there doing his poses, and all of this, which you wouldn't do. Like if you watch the TNA matches, a lot of the time that Joe Hendry hits the pose is when when his opponent's like rolled out the ring.
Yeah.
But he didn't this time. He did it pretty early on because he was taking in the moment. And, it's that, and I feel like it doesn't bury it because because of that, because he didn't take it completely seriously, means that, you therefore can't take it as if Joe Hendry just threw his best at Randy Orton.
Yeah.
And you also had one of the best RKOs out of nowhere. And fair play to Joe Hendry, because if you watch it again back, Joe Hendry does not move his eyes.
Yeah.
He stays down the barrel of the camera, and the RKO comes, and it takes him out. Like, there was no looking to the side. There was no, like, eyes in the back, like, trying to, like, judge, "Oh, when's it coming?" He trusted Randy to just come and hit it. He trusted himself to bump when he needed to. But it was just brilliant.
Yeah, and I think, like, if you look at, like, the rest of the card of night 2 as well, like, you had obviously such a hot start with the women's triple threat. You then had the Sin City street fight with Damian and Drew, and then the third match being that 4-way for the Intercontinental title. Like, that's as strong a start as you could possibly hope for a start to it. Not even just a night 1 or a Mania, like any sort of like PLE or pay-per-view or whatever show you're putting on. I don't think you're getting much stronger starts to a show than that, are you?
Probably one of the best starts to, as you said, a Mania or a pay-per-view ever. Like 3 back-to-back bangers.
Yeah.
And the thing is that kind of summed up this show. This show was back-to-back banger after banger after banger after banger. No, not Sheamus.
Yeah.
But banger after banger after banger until the main event. And it was just, but that the entire show was probably like a 10 out of 10. Like, one of the best Mania nights ever that I'd experienced, probably until right at the end, which we'll probably discuss in more detail in a minute. But it was one of the best Mania nights ever. Like, I did not feel tired.
Yeah,
my mate that was stuck next to me did not feel tired. We were kind of discussing with each other. We're like, we don't feel tired at all, because there was no lulls. There was no moment for us to rest, to the point where we had to plan when we were going to the toilet as to which promo packages we were going to have to miss.
Yeah.
Because it was literally just banger after banger after banger. Yeah. The only one on night 2 that I don't think hit for me, if excluding the main event, was AJ Logan. And purely, I just think, the interference sort of ruined it. Yeah. Because it was a lot slower than I expected. a lot more time was given to it than I expected. And I don't mind that. I don't mind slower if it means that it builds and builds and builds. But just as it started to build, and you can feel the crowd getting into it, the interference sort of happens, and that sort of, and with any interference, because of the whole like shouting back and forth, it brings the energy down in the arena. I just felt like they should have just let the match finish.
Yeah.
And either Logan wins clean, which would have really put over Logan, or AJ wins clean. I know what they were trying to tell, and I know the story they're trying to tell, which is, you know, AJ doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore. He wants to be the good guy, and all of this, and but just, and I don't know what it was. Something didn't click for me watching it. And I just think, I just don't know whether it was just that interference. That's the only thing I can think of. That sort of I could just as I was starting to get in, I think it sort of then was like, and then the interference. But up until that point, it was fine. It was fine. Again, it wasn't a bad match. It just didn't click for me. Just something wasn't quite there. I do hearken it to the interference. I just think something with it just didn't hit the way I think they were expecting it to hit. Which is a shame. I mean, I don't think it affects the storylines going forward at all. I think the crowd reaction that they ended up getting from every person was exactly what they wanted. So in the end, there's like no harm done. It's just from what could have been one of the best matches on the card. I think it all probably also didn't help that the rest of the card was so good.
It had a big act to follow, like for that early start to the card, and I think having that little bit of a lull probably helped in terms of being able to get to that main event and keep the energy up, or give the crowd some energy to come back. But again, I didn't necessarily dislike the AJ Logan match per se, but I agree that the ending kind of made it fall a bit flat. I think if you've got maybe Carrion running in and AJ's maybe about to get pinned, and then Carrion comes in for a distraction, and then something happens, but AJ still ends up losing despite that. Like, that maybe might have worked a little bit better in my head, thinking of it now anyway. But yeah, I think like we say, up until the main event, I think the night 2 card was very strong from top to bottom. And then the main event happened. And again, I'm not necessarily going to go through a full match breakdown of it, but for me personally, I think the match was fine. I don't think it necessarily was a amazing match. I don't think it was a brilliant match. I think it was fine. And then the Travis Scott coming down the ramp would have been fine if The Rock was there to come after. If, like, maybe Travis Scott does his bit and then, that didn't work. Okay, we'll throw the big gun out to make sure we get over the line here. I think that would have made sense. But the Travis Scott bit just kind of, it just totally plateaued what they were building to. And I think if you take out that Travis Scott bit and you have then Cena doing what he does to win, which is, take the turnbuckle off, hit him with the belt, all that stuff. I think if you have that without the Travis Scott, yes, it's not necessarily a 5 out of 5 match. It's probably not even a 4 out of 5 match, but I still think it puts the ball on WrestleMania. It gives you Cena having the title and walking off like he did, without having this sort of bitter taste in your mouth of, did we really need this at the end? And I think it was a little bit too much of WWE trying to make a viral moment by having Travis Scott there, which obviously they want to appeal to casual fans, and I get that Mania weekend is really for that. But I think there's a time and a place for it, and I didn't think that was the time and place for it.
No. I mean, we sort of discussed it after Chamber. And I think it's sort of been very clear. A lot of wrestling fans are like, why is Travis Scott there? Because it's not a story that needed it. And I sort of harken back to when sort of Bad Bunny came in, and even Logan you know, and Logan had been training a long time before he came to WWE, and that's what, you know, people do forget is he was training way before he came to WWE. It's not like, you know, WWE reached out to him; he was already training.
Yeah.
It the differences with those and this is they didn't shove him in the main event. You know, this and also if it wasn't Cena's last Mania, it probably wouldn't bother me.
Yeah.
But I like there's that lingering thing of Cena's last Mania, and could be remembered for Travis Scott.
Yeah.
Not him, and not him winning his 17th. And that's my concern. You know, speaking to people after this, and you know, it was like, you know, what do you think of Mania? And then it was like, you know, some people were like, oh, F Travis Scott, and stuff like that. And it was like, I feel like the feeling was just like the even wrestling fans, the talk was about Travis, not Cena. And I felt like it just took away from Cena winning and, you know, Cena's entire story arc.
Yeah.
As you said, I don't think it would have taken away as much if The Rock had probably come out, and then because you would have had some storyline development.
Yeah.
But knowing that Travis Scott is just a celebrity, he's not here for the big overarching storyline. I think it sort of, it just sort of, there was something off about it. And you know, it sort of finished, and you could feel the crowd, and you could feel, and the internet was like, something didn't feel right with that. And I think the sour taste thing is kind of, I don't want to remember Cena's last Mania because of Travis Scott, and I don't want that to be lost in memory. But if this is his last Mania and he is telling the truth, that's what will be remembered, and that's a shame.
Yeah, the only thing I think is going to change the perspective of it is if the run we have between now and the end of the year it's a brilliant run, and this was what started it. It's just unfortunately the match had to have that in there for some reason. And again, this may well be something. Again, this is me purely speculating, but they may look at this and go, "We don't want this to be Cena's last Mania, and this be the way it ends. Like, we need it to be on a crescendo." So something may change that. I personally think that Cena is telling the truth. I think it is December and done. I don't necessarily think it's coming back. I don't.
My heart is telling me that he's staying for one more, and that because it would be a heelish thing to do this whole. This is the last time I'm at Mania. Sell a load of tickets, and then go at the end of the year. Go, nah, I'll stay for one more.
It's that thing, isn't it? It's like, it's right there. Like, they're in December. It's like less than 4 weeks to the Rumble.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, but who knows?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I just think that it's a shame that it ended the way it did, because you had probably, if that match had finished without that interference, or didn't have that sort of plateau, like that crash of an ending, I think you're probably, not necessarily that the main event was one of the best main events ever, but as an overall night, you're probably looking at a great WrestleMania. Yeah. Like, it's, I think for it to be an all-timer, I think you would have needed Cena and Cody to be a brilliant match. But I think for it to be a great WrestleMania, that's probably top 10, top 15. Yeah. I think it would have been in there. But I think everyone's reaction is, it was great, but, and that's, if it doesn't have the but in there, it's a great night for everybody.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is like, when it ended, me and my two friends that I was sat with, we were just like, oh, okay. Turned it off and went straight to bed. There wasn't any sort of, oh my God, like, Cena's got his title. So yeah, it's just a shame it ended that way. But again, I think overall, in terms of WrestleMania as a whole, in terms of how I would rate it, it's a strange one, because I was firmly going into like that last match thinking this is probably an 8 or a 9, and I think after the match I'm now feeling like it's a 7. Like, I think it's Yeah.
Literally the exact same.
Yeah.
I had this discussion with my mate, and it was like, it's probably a 7 out of 10 for me. If that last match hit, it would have easily been an 8 or a 9 for both nights.
Yeah.
But the fact that that ending was the way it was, sort of brought it down to a 7. Because 6 sounds way too harsh, bearing in mind that we probably had 2 of the greatest WrestleMania matches and definitely 2 of the greatest triple threat matches we've ever had on both shows. Again, not including the surprises, the Jay win, and everything else that's sort of mixed in there. It was, if you just took those 2 matches alone, you can't say it's a 6.
Yeah.
Because those 2 matches can't be 10 out. You can't have 2 10 out of 10 matches, like obvious 10 out of 10 matches, and say that the whole show's a 6 without hating every other match. But an 8 sounds too much of that was great. So I've settled on a 7. And to be honest, if you harken back your minds back to most manias, a 7's probably a good rating, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, if you think of some of the manias before COVID as well, like if you think of the manias before that, like if you think, I can never remember the numbers, but it was the one that ended with Becky, Ronda, and Charlotte as the main event.
Yeah.
And it was like a 7-hour mania or 8-hour mania, and it was just like, this is rough. Like, it's just, and I know like the 2 nights across are 8 hours, but you have 2 nights.
Yes, 2 nights, it works.
It works, and that's why it works. So in terms of Mania, those are our thoughts. Of course, would love to hear what you thought of Mania as a whole in the comments. Let us know what your highlights are as well, or your low lights, I guess, if that's the right term. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well, and keep it tuned on Taking the Pin for more wrestling content. And with that, I shall bid you farewell, and we'll catch you on the next one.